Well, a very warm welcome and a very good evening to everyone that has joined in and that will be watching this video. A very interesting and timely video, as we would all say, because today we have a very distinguished individual that is here with us. We have Mr. Dasun Jayawardena, who is the Associate Director of one of the big four audit firms in the Republic of Ireland. He holds a BSc in Business Administration and from the University of Sri Jayawardena, an MBA from also from the University of Sri Jayawardena, and he is also a FCA, FCMA, and ACCA member. Well, without any further delay, we are about to speak on a very interesting topic, like I mentioned before, because we will be speaking about the journey of the auditing profession, its evolution from the past, and what the future holds. So, without further delay, a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Jayawardena. Thank you for joining us, and we warmly welcome you to Infinity Learning Space.
Thank you, Dumindra, for nice introduction. And again, thanks again for having me today in podcast. I'm really glad to, and I'm really privileged to have this discussion ongoing for the very hot and interesting topic in the auditing profession.
Absolutely. And the pleasure is all ours that we are speaking to you as well, Mr. Jayawardena. All right, Mr. Jayawardena, we want to know a lot more about you. So let's start with audit and assurance, which is what we are all here for. A lot of our viewers, a lot of our Infinity Learning Space viewers are here for the betterment or to improve themselves, or for people who are studying in audit, learn, who are training within the audit and assurance divisions. So we must ask you, being in the audit and assurance sector is surely a journey. Could you take us through what that journey has been like for you so far?
Yeah, thanks so much. So again, I think you're right. It has been a bit of a journey for me. Yeah, it's now 16 years I'm in the profession. So I would say what's the journey for me is quite unique. What make it unique is I hold blend of experience in both side of the table. So I work like 6 years in the industry, commercial experience, commercial organizations, and then I work like 10 years in the practice. So it has kind of a blend of experience, from 2009 to 2025 today's days. So I actually worked less than 5 years time in Sri Lanka after my completion of articles in one of the big four firms in Sri Lanka from 2009 to 12. And then in 2012 to 2014, I worked in one of the well renowned apparel and manufacturing organizations in Sri Lanka. And then I left Sri Lanka in 2014 and migrated to Kuwait, and I worked in Kuwait till 2023, where I remigrated again to Ireland in 2023, where I work in one of the big four firms as an associate director today. Yeah, so
Wow,
it's a
that
bit
is
of a journey.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely a lot of experience, which I think a lot of us can learn from, because we now have an advanced auditing club. And within that club, there are a lot of auditors, future auditors, or aspiring auditors. And I'm sure all of them can surely learn from your journey as well. So, Mr. Jayawardena, what is it that inspired you to actually join the auditing profession?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Like, couple of reasons for me personally. So, starting from you get different industries to work. First of all, when you are in the practice, right? So, and if you're unlike if you're working in a commercial sector organization where you are bought into certain industry or maybe certain organization, maybe you'll be doing some repetitive task. And since I have been at the other side of the table, I understand what I now have realized is industry may not be appealing as compared to practice. So because I every get I every day get challenged with different people and different things to learn, different standards, different technology, different regulations, and bit of traveling around the world and here and there in the country as well. So I enjoy doing that. So I think that's what inspired for me to choose the auditing profession today as where I work.
Wow, okay. And also, Mr. Jayawardena, since you mentioned that, there's a little bit of everything within this. So can you let us know or take us through how your academic foundation evolved into a practical skill set? Because that would have allowed you to lead audits in a complex environment such as this. And are there actually interpersonal skills that play a significant role in such instances, according to your opinion?
Yeah, I think that's again a good start to get into the topic, right? So I think I would say like I'm a proud member of CA Sri Lanka, and uh, being very honest, like I would say that's a qualification where I am built upon, and that's a qualification where who I am today, right? So I'm a really proud member of CA Sri Lanka, and that gave me the opportunity to have that right level of skill set, to have that right level of academic background. So, and I also followed my BSc Business Administration degree back in the days. I had the opportunity to follow a finance degree, but I wanted to get into auditing profession at that time. That's the only way to get the practical training after the second year of my undergraduate course. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it was a kind of a plan thing. But since I did something differently than to accounting, I get to develop my, I would say, business acumen in terms of seeing thing in business language differently, as well as blending that business knowledge with accounting and auditing. That really helped me to develop sort of a academic, I would say, foundation to have that right skill set to see different things in the practice nowadays. So yeah, so I think CA Sri Lanka qualification helped me a lot in that perspective. And not only that, so like I mentioned in my early introduction, so I actually got to do my MBA after like 10 years. So when I do my MBA after 10 years, again, like I get to learn so many disruptions in the business world. And like I got graduated in 2011. Like it was a kind of like after so many years I'm doing this sort of a examination or sort of environment in like learning place. So and I realized that like yeah, it was the right thing I did after so many years of like academic and professional qualification being completed. Did the MBA, so that again gave me a bit of a I would say booster to get into the real business world with certain concepts. There are a lot of things changed from the past, and I was able to grab them with the MBA. So that's gave me a bit of again a booster to have the right qualification set. And not only that, like academic and maybe professional examination, maybe like having a certificate, it'll give you the foundation, right? So if you yourself you want to put into a maybe a table of a competition or table of a kind of a place where you want to be chosen, right? So in that case, your interpersonal skills and your ability to make things and ability to adapt to environments, ability to adapt to cultures, ability to adapt to different people, that's make you who you are to the next level, right? So I think our education sets and maybe professional examination set you sort of a foundation, and to make you to the next level, I think it's up to you to develop your soft skill piece. I think in Sri Lanka nowadays, I know very different to the days I learned, and I saw like in I think 2000. Maybe 15 curriculum change, like that brought the different pillars of soft skill. I think that really make really kind of a change that's required for future ready chartered accountants. I think like yeah, so that's actually shaped me to get into a lot of complex areas and a lot of like day-to-day practical things. Yeah, so you're right. So like academics, like make a lot of sort of a foundation, and then like your interpersonal skills, and then how you build upon your being agile and being able to adapt to different things. Like that's how you become I think really a good problem solver and good good negotiator, and maybe good team player and good contributor to the whole value chain of any organization, I would say. I'm not sure I
Absolutely.
answered all of it, but like I tried my best.
No, it definitely did. It definitely did. I'm sure all our viewers will also agree with this as well. And something that all of us can take note of for the future, because we also want to be great negotiators and everything relating to a good professional. So thank you very much once again, Mr. Jayawardena, for sharing that with us as well. And also, okay, so coming back to audit, when speaking of audit, because there's so much that has evolved now, do you think the core purpose of audit has actually evolved from the past in financial verification to today's broader assurance landscape? And do you think the auditors, especially in Sri Lanka, are they ready for this change? What's your opinion on
I think we are very much ready. So uh, I think if I'm not mistaken, I can't exactly remember the days where we in fact as Sri Lanka changed to international sort of auditing standards.
it?
I remember that there were a lot of rule based auditing standard. I remember I was following my intermediate exam in back in 2005 or 6. Oh, in that era, I remember they were auditing standard number one, two, three, and they were I felt like there are a lot of rule-based auditing standard. I think when I was doing my advanced audit and assurance papers, after some time, then the auditing standard got changed to a principle-based, I think more risk-based approach. I think we have done a fair good I mean, it's a fair play that in Sri Lankan accountancy profession, or maybe the practitioner's perspective, I think we have done a tremendous change to respond to the international context, and we have already done a lot of changes, right? And so to answer to your question, it was a kind of a verification, like very rule based, ticking the box kind of audit environment, right? So nowadays it's like no longer ticking the box, it's all about the risk assessment, right? So we'll talk about maybe in due course when you come up with few other things, I can talk about AI and say various digital things later, but I would say the core concept auditing has evolved a lot from traditional rule based approach to I think risk based approach, and that risk based approach of auditing has further evolved with the disruption of technologies and disruptions of this digital world and digital economies. So yeah, so it has evolved a lot, and there's a lot to come to.
Yeah. And since you mentioned that there's a lot to come to, do you think there were also limitations in the traditional audit model? Were there any limitations of the traditional audit model? And how do you think they have shaped the need for transformation? Just adding on to that question as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think that's again there were a lot of legacy things we were doing in the past, and bear in mind this is a ecosystem at the end of the day. So what's the ecosystem for auditing and assurance professionals is there'll be business community, maybe business world, industries, and then there will be regulators who are looking after the accounting and auditing profession, and then there will be different other various ecosystem players such as maybe governments and maybe any other stakeholders who are relying on the financial statements and stuff, right? So to work this ecosystem smoother, I think auditing profession has made a lot of transformation. What this transformation is actually about is the responding to what your clients needs. So what your client is actually the industry and the businesses, right? When the businesses get changed, they are businesses with new technologies, new automations, maybe AI or any other sort of disruptions happening in the world, right? So when your business, your client gets changed, you need to get changed. So if you don't get changed, you may not be remain relevant, right? So I think I think it has shaped a lot in traditional auditing model. I think it's standard setters perspective and even the regulators perspective. I think IFAC, PCOB, you name it, like various other regulators over the world. I think they make rapid responses to ever evolving the profession, right? And they have rapid responses to technology, and they have rapid responses to the environmental and various other things happening in the world, right? So I think if we shouldn't forget about, like, see Sri Lanka perspective, right? I think like I remember, like, few months ago, Sri Lanka introduced small and medium practitioners kind of a software kind of a tool. I think
Yes,
I think this is what's needed. I think this is what make people different, right? So I always say to my friends and colleagues from different countries, saying like Sri Lanka is not that famous enough in the world, and you guys
yes,
hardly heard about Sri Lanka unless you are a cricket fan, maybe. Okay, you might be heard of Sri Lanka, and maybe like if you are a tea drinker, you might be little heard of you, maybe because of Ceylon tea. And nowadays,
yes,
you guys are hearing us. It's because of the
yes,
quality of chartered accountants produced by Sri Lanka. So, like, yeah, so you need to make, like, bit of transformation, and it has shaped a little bit, I think, but there is a lot to do from regulators' perspective, and maybe like, Sri Lanka Auditing Accounting Standard Monitoring Board perspective, or maybe like various other regulatory and government bodies perspective. I think it's a collective effort, I would say, and it's not
yes.
one man show. But like I think it's a fair play from our institute side also to like maybe get everyone together to journey and get it go there for that transformation.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And since you mentioned about transformation and digitalization and changing with the clients, how do you think digitalization has changed the way that auditors actually collect or analyze and interpret audit evidence? Has it changed, and how has digitalization changed it?
No, I think it's a very interesting question, I would say. Uh, so you talking about the auditing evidence perspective, right? So we always do a sample-based audit as external auditors, and I think the auditing standard, if we like, mainly divide it into few phases, right? So your engaging piece, maybe ISO 200 series covers it, maybe then planning and risk assessment piece, maybe ISO 300 series covers it, and then like audit evidence gathering process that's covering in ISA 500 series, which is the question in the topic, right? So if you talk about ISA 500, the basic concept of gathering sufficient and appropriate audit evidence has not changed. Maybe like, a lot of AI is coming in, a lot of disruptions coming in, and like basic concepts such as direction, supervision, and review. So they haven't been changed, and it's because our profession, we are doing something. I know that there will be a lot of people, or maybe a lot of professions, and a lot of jobs are at risk today, but like gathering the audit evidence and making sure it is appropriate, it's kind of a critical judgment. So to make that critical judgment, you need to have that question in mindset, and you need to have that professional skepticism to maybe like evaluate the sufficiency and the appropriateness of an audit evidence. So in that perspective, I think there's a lot change because of the digitalization. Maybe like, all the days you were taking a document physically, and then like, you will looking at it, and you will maybe like, prepare working paper. So like, bringing back some memories to my old days in my training contract in 2009, right? So I used to have some clients, they are working on manual environments, right? Where like, they give the support in physical documents. So we usually go and collect the maybe a box file or something, and then
Yes,
you get it to yourself and you start looking at it, and then like, you make some notes in your audit work papers, maybe digitally or whatever, like, maybe a spreadsheet, and then you give it back. Nowadays it is not the game. So you get something in digitally, and there will be a lot of things come with digitalization, right? So when you see something in digital audit evidence, you need to be really careful. Again, like, the core concept of audit evidence gathering hasn't been changed. Having said that, but there is something, the mode has changed. So to check this sufficiency and appropriateness piece in this particular mode, you need to have softwares, you need to have certain digital responses. So when your client is digital, when your client is coming up with various technology and related stuff, so you need to have digital platform to evaluate that. So nowadays, maybe like, matter of second, you will put some documents, your whatever the software, and software will tell you this is the invoice number, this is the delivery date, this is the date of delivery. Okay, this period is correct. So you will get like a lot of automated answers, right? So that has changed, but I think still it's very, very fair play. Like I think, like I mentioned, like it's no longer rule-based auditing, right? It's all about now risk-based auditing. Standard got changed number of years back. Like, it's all about like, interpreting yourself and comparing things and making your judgment and all of that. Like core concept hasn't been changed. Maybe your responses to the digitalization mode has changed a lot.
Okay, that really makes sense. And since you mentioned about different platforms and how digitalization has changed a lot, because a lot of audit firms, especially in Sri Lanka, are still somewhat using a very basic AI tool or digital platforms. What is your opinion in that context, especially when it comes to improving efficiency and insights? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, look, like I took you in the earlier, like, sort of discussion. So per space of technology evaluation, most of the firms tried doing was automations. So you might have seen, like, in, like, back in the our days, like, the Dumindra, like, we started, like, getting to a new, maybe like, software, auditing software. So that has, like, different phases of auditing standard that we are talking about. So it has, like, 200 series, the engagement letters, and, client onboarding, all of that. And then, like, any software around the world, right? Any practitioner uses, like, around the world, right? It has these basic features, right? So you have client setting up, like, basic engagement, onboarding work, and then, like, it'll cover ISA 200 series sort of standards, and then it'll go into maybe like, planning and risk assessment, ISA 300 series. Like, so we started doing this in sort of a automation journey, right? So when it comes to now today's world, actually, even the small practitioners, like, say for example, let me take example around the, I think it's there in Sri Lanka as well. So suppose a simple software solution like Zero. So Zero is actually small and medium entrepreneurs, like, kind of accounting software. So
Yes.
as you might have seen, like, Zero has a lot of add-ons, packages, or maybe the apps. Say you take your mobile phone and you are a small business, and you take a copy of the invoice and you upload it to that particular app, and you keep on doing that for a number of instances when you do transaction, and it captures things in background and upload things to Zero. So this is not AI, actually. So this is not AI. This is actually simple automation. So this simple automation was there, and it is there in Sri Lanka as well. So, like, back in the day, like, we had to take someone, like, maybe like a secretary or someone, maybe someone junior person from the, maybe like, your team or someone, just to take the notes when we have, like, 3 hours long or maybe 5 hours long meeting, right? So nowadays, like, maybe it can be replaced by AI. So any simple tools, like, I think widely available to use in the business world today, is the Microsoft Copilot and stuff. So they are like, it'll matter of second, you'll take that. So yeah, so lots of firms still use, like, basic AI tools, but, like, in the future, like, since even, like, like, business owners, they started doing, like, taking these apps and, like, Zero and various other, like, smart accounting, keeping softwares and stuff. So you as a practitioner, you will also have to change. Maybe, like, there will be days, like, there will be solutions, digital simple solutions like that, like, available in the world. So you make a small subscription and take it there and do your audit work. I think that's just what, like, maybe the initial pace Sri Lanka has done it. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think you compare with, like, number of other institutions around the world, right? So maybe they haven't done something like that, but I'm really proud of that. Like, Sri Lanka at least took that initiative and at least did the initial launch of that for small and medium practitioners. So yeah, so answer to your question, like, still small firms use different things, but like there is a lot to come in, and there'll be a lot to just to pay simple subscription and get the things done. Like I mentioned, the 200 series of standard, 300 series of standards, 500 series of standard work, and 700 series set of work. Yeah.
So the audit procedures you would say are still relevant in a world of a real-time data and cloud-based financial systems. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think there was lots of changes to traditional audit procedures, like this is real-time data, is cloud-based data, and like it is so sophisticated, right? So definitely the audit procedures will have to be changed, but like basic like essence, I would say the core concepts will not be changed. It will still be there because it's risk-based auditing. It's no longer rule-based, but like yeah, there will be a lot of changes to the traditional audit procedures. However, my reading is that like I do not think there will be changes to the like I should say 520 is predictive analysis. Although the AI is there, you can still do using the AI do this predictive analysis, trend analysis, whatever the analysis that you do to do like substantive analytical review procedure kind of things, right? So and that will be still there. So and it'll be in the context of AI. I would say like it'll give a lot of solutions, what if scenarios, like scenario outputs, and then still the human is there, like maybe the practitioner. You read the things and you make the decision and you take it from there. But like you can't rely on what's output coming in. But like it is what it is. Like there will be a lot of changes. But like that, I think change coming through the mode, like I mentioned before. So it's not the like the core concepts.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. And Mr. Jayawardena, also now digitalization has come in, and but does it impact the auditor's ability to detect fraud? Because especially when it comes to professional skepticism and detecting fraud, especially in very complex global organizations, what's your take on that?
Oh, that's a very brilliant question actually. So, yeah, so so audit is currently actually, like I mentioned, it's sample basis, right? So,
Yeah.
and so yeah, detecting uh, fraud or error, it's actually something coming from your skeptical mindset, question in mind, critical thinking ability, and right application of your professional judgment process, I would say. So it's as simple as that. So that's like core foundation of how you find fraud and errors, right? So in even in digital era, like maybe like my reading is my personal expectation, even in 10 years time today, right? So we will, like, if I am auditor, like I will go to my basic common sense and I ask, like, this make sense? How this can be, right? So uh why this is done in this way? And like these are simple, like questions I usually ask from myself when I do certain reviews, right? So and and then I always question to myself, they wouldn't be doing anything wrong about completeness assertion, but like they will do something about the accuracy and valuation. But like yeah, so something like that. So that's actually coming from your core concepts of like being yourself as auditor. That's actually your professional skepticism and professional judgment process. Yeah, so audit is actually sample basis. To answer to your question, digital revolution and the AI will give you sort of extra output in terms of testing. So my expectation is that, like nowadays we'll be doing like sample basis auditing, and it serves the purpose, where it serves the purpose in terms of a materiality perspective. So you have a set materiality and you do certain procedures and you do the right risk assessment, and then you are able to find fraud and errors if you are doing the right job, right? So that is still there and it's very valid even to today's world, and number of years ahead I would say it is very valid, right? But like having said that, this AI and digitalization will give you extra ability for practitioners like us to test, which means beyond sample testing. So beyond sample testing means supposingly we are doing 100% testing, a massive billions of transaction set, and you write simple prompt or maybe set of commands in AI that will go to the database, extract certain things out, analyze it and find and say this is some exceptions out of billions of transactions. We found 100 exceptions. So when you go and evaluate maybe that 100 exceptions, you will find something fishy. So, and your ability to find things will definitely enhance. But bear in mind, we do a sample basis of auditing, but we are also giving the opinion, which is free from all material aspects. So we are not giving the certification. So bear in mind, I think it's very important, so maybe someone who's in the middle in your career, maybe if someone listening to this podcast, maybe who's doing maybe third or fourth year in the training contract, or maybe second or third year in the training contract, it's very important to know to yourself this, right? So and this AI will give you enhance your ability to detect things, but bear in mind, we are not giving a certificate, right? So and so like I mentioned, it'll always serve the purpose if we do the right risk assessment and make responses using right audit procedures in all material respects. But I think the AI and digital landscape will give you the ability to find more things and detect more
Okay.
frauds and errors, to answer to your question.
Okay, and will there be ethical risks though in relying on AI-driven decision making?
Oh, yeah. So that's going in hands in hand. Any profession, ethics are the foundation or the blood vessels, right? So so it's actually very much important that we build the foundation on that, right? So I think to answer to your question in two things, right? So practitioners, all the practitioners around the world is built upon something called trust, right? And your reputation. So your reputation matter, your brand name is matters, and your personal trust on someone's relying on the set of accounts audited by you really matters, right? So in that landscape, there are a lot of things come with a lot of cost, right, Tumindra? So AI is coming, a lot of digital disruptions coming in, but we never heard of ransom attack. And
Yeah,
we were not paying a lot of attention about cyber security and stuff. Nowadays, accounting firms and professional services firms, they have a separate division for cyber security. So they attract cyber security personnel and they go in hand with audit professionals. So and even telecommunication companies nowadays, they have separate divisions and separate professionals working for cyber security, right? So and yeah, so it is subject to a lot of ethical risk, right? And very importantly, as a professional practitioner, you can't just rely on what is produced by AI. So you need to critically evaluate. So simple answer is you just go to Google and go to maybe Copilot, right? And when you go to Copilot or Google or whatever the AI tool that you use, freely available, and when you write a question and you get an answer for your question or the prompt, and then it always says, this is AI generated content, and it may not be correct. Yeah, exactly it is. When you read the content, sometimes the answer is completely wrong.
yes.
And the funny thing is when you go to maybe Copilot or maybe Chat GPT or whatever the AI tool you use and you say you are wrong. This is how it should be kind of, yes, I am wrong. Like it also says like that. So that means you shouldn't be things on face value. You shouldn't be accepting the what AI produce on face value. So you should be having that mindset of like your professional skepticism and again the professional judgment process and making sense of what you're seeing and apply your basic simple business knowledge. Can this be right? So those simple questions make you ethical, although you are getting certain work done by AI, because AI is just a co-worker, maybe co-support. For a 1 minute, Dumindra, let's assume AI equal to human. So AI is human now, right? So if AI is human and the firms that uses AI, if they are bound with certain quality control like ISQM, and if they are very much following the maybe IESBA code, maybe say in Sri Lankan context, ethical standard, I would say it is still IESBA. So like if you are following like, your firm with IESBA equivalent Sri Lankan standard, if you're having simple integrity, simple objectivity, simple professional competence and due care, and simple like, protocols to protect the confidentiality of your client's data, and if you behave in a professional manner, like there will not be a lot of challenges, a lot of threats to your fundamental ethical principles, I would say. So I think in that context, it surely will, it'll be challenge, it'll be coming up with a lot of challenges of ethical aspects of AI or maybe digital platforms. But still, like, you need to have your system right, you need to have your house in order. So how to make your house in order is how those ISQM, how all these basic fundamental ethical principles safeguarded all the time to a
Okay.
acceptable and low level. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to pick up and make the judgment that what some of the biggest worries that Sri Lankans or our auditors, local auditors have is that AI would eventually replace human jobs. So
Yeah.
I'm going to make the judgment saying no, that's not going to happen. Is that judgment correct to make?
Like imagine like, like I just mentioned to you, like, couple of minutes ago, right? So, and I told like, AI will be your coworker, will give a lot of assistance to work, right? And like I mentioned, in all the series of standards we have it, right? So all the series of standards we have it, like, maybe engaging process, right? So engaging series, you have like, you have engagement letter. So you, before you go into engagement letter in Sri Lankan context, it's I think equivalent to a service agreement with the supplier. So, and in that context, like, before you engage with the firm or maybe a client, you always do your background check, right? Whether like, it'll bring some reputational risk to my firm in Sri Lanka, right? So you do your background check, right? So to get the background check, yeah, AI can be a helper, right? So AI can help. And then like, generating engagement letter, do the all the documentation work, paperwork, I would say in layman word, in your sorry, auditing software. Yeah, you can get it like maybe good. I'm sorry to say, Tumida, it is so scary, but like good 70 to 80% will be replaced. Okay,
Okay.
good 70 to 80% will be replaced. In my view, right? This is my personal idea. So, like, reading certain publicly available newspapers and things that I'm seeing around the world, right? And technical skills may not be in longer run relevant, and you might have seen in the newspaper articles that CFA, all three levels were taken by maybe uh, Chat GPT, OpenAI's some of the softwares, some of the AI tools, and all three exams were passed in matter of like seconds. So all the MCQs and like and then even the hardest level three in CFA essay type question they were answered matter of like minutes and seconds. So it is so scary. The future is
Yeah.
so scary. But like like day to day work, like it'll not be everything replaced, but like to a great extent it will be replaced. And that is actually I was talking about the client engaging process, right? And if you talk about maybe like audit risk assessment and planning phase, planning is the heart of audit, right? And again, like to do a lot of planning things, do a lot of analysis, and you come up with a lot of industry comparisons, benchmarking, and everything, and you come up with a lot of like readily available tools to do a lot of risk assessment, and you can get a lot of support out of AI. Maybe the time you spend, like it'll be substantially cut down. But like I would say, if you are a professional practicing firm in Sri Lanka, maybe like 100 employees firm, I'm just referring, maybe like that 100 employees firm, maybe you have 10 partners, let me assume, so 10 partners, right? So when it comes to the planning piece, like you need to take certain critical judgment whether you are going to do test of detail of audit, or maybe substantive analytical review procedures enough for this particular financial caption. Then again, maybe like size of materiality setting, and all of that will be supported with AI. Maybe that would have been done previously by maybe a year two, maybe year three training in your training contract right? So it would have been done by someone like that, right? Maybe a senior auditor level someone would have done that, right? But like nowadays, if you have AI, like not nowadays, like in the future, I expect like it'll do a lot of risk assessment, and it'll do a lot of calculation. Say if you do select profitability as your benchmark for the materiality, 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever the percentage within that entity's type of whether listed or unlisted, like it'll calculate the materiality, right? And it'll come up with like, these are the options you have it. And then you select, I'm going with this materiality or not. But like someone human will have to review it to make it sense and take the final decision, but it will be supported by a lot of work in the background by AI. So, and then again, the audit evidence gathering process, like, you will get your lot of workload, maybe vouching of document would have been done matter of seconds, minutes. So it will summarize, this is the invoice amount as per the general ledger, this is as per the invoice, and this is as per the delivery docket, and this is as per the customer's accepted proof of delivery document by the courier, whatever invoice number is matching in all three documents, and it'll give within minutes the output, right? But like again, then you go and maybe like you are the practitioner, you go and review the work coming up from AI, just equivalent to a work done by maybe another junior staff of the firm, right? So, and you need to make decision. In that context, again, Dumindra, 60 to good 70% will be replaced by AI. So that is scary. And like I am reading newspaper articles. I think one of the newspapers in the UK recent past, I saw like, a lot of recruitments in professional practice in firms, number has reduced. Supposing
Yeah.
if they were recruiting graduate intakes for like year one, year two trainings, like in Sri Lanka articles training. So maybe like if you were hiring like every year 100 candidate trainees, now you're hiring maybe like 90, 80. That means that there is a trend of reduction of human bodies in your professional firm. So which means something is getting changed around us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so since we're talking about the future, and since there is a potential of, a percentage being replaced, are there specific skills and competencies that will actually define the auditor of, say, 2035? Because, we are also looking at, because Sri Lanka also launched a brand new curriculum where they're aiming to create 2030 a whole an all-rounded professional. So how should education actually evolve to meet that future, and do we have the necessary infrastructure and the resources to get there?
I think that's a very good question. Like, and thanks so much bringing that up, right? I recently, for some reason, accidentally, I read the 2025 to 30 curriculum, right? It was quite good one. And like I always say, like, I'm really proud of to be a member of my Sri Lanka Institute. Why? Because we are actually comparable to number of world-renowned organization, see a professional organization. Like we get like like parallel membership in ICAEW, maybe ACCA, CPA Australia, CA Australia and New Zealand, CPA Ireland, things like that. Like without even doing exams, in most of the cases, you just simply get the membership, right? Why? Because our curriculum is comparable to the world, and if not better, like we are ahead of like future sometimes. So if I may refer to a context in our curriculum, like I think we have certain skills that are prerequisite of a aspiring chartered accountant, right? That's actually the technical skills. The weight of the technical skills is still there, but like I think it is bit reducing in context because of the AI. Like I mentioned, like you can matter of second you can write a prompt and get a lot of technical things, right? And even like maybe spreadsheet knowledge. Like in my older days, like I had like a lot of my friends and colleagues who are very good at Excel, and they by heart know the formula for certain if condition or whatever. Like maybe H lookup, V lookup. They will talk about a lot of formulas, macros, and stuff, right? Nowadays, I'll simply open my spreadsheet and I'll open the Copilot and I write, I need to have a macro on this subject. It'll give me within seconds, right? So the weight of the Sri Lanka curriculum on those context getting condensed, I would say, and they are doing the right thing to bring that enabling skills that is kind of one of the prerequisite, or maybe one of the skill sets that aspiring chartered accountants need, right? So in that enabling skills, I think Sri Lanka is bringing the digital skills, data skills, and sustainability and governance skills, right? So these three skills make you a future ready chartered accountant, in my opinion, right? So but still this is not enough, right? So we, like you know human cannot be satisfied all the time. They have more and more things, more eagerness, more things needed. I would say, in future, I mean, if they are doing certain changes to the curriculum, bring certain digital testing of auditor, like you, in your examination environment, you get a couple of invoices, or maybe some spreadsheet data, and analyze and get a co-pilot, or maybe not Copilot, say some AI tools developed by us, and in examination environment, you get to get to write a prompt and review that work, and get sort of what if scenarios, and you analyze by applying your professional judgment process and have that professional skepticism, and come up with the answer to the question in the exam paper. If you can do those type of things, maybe that will make even better, right? So, and I'm sure they are maybe doing it in background. I'm sorry, I don't have specific knowledge on the things, but I think around the world, professional organization who are offering qualification like this, they are doing it right. I think they are doing the right thing. But the the future is so agile and so complex, so dynamic, ever disrupting. But the curriculum setters cannot change the curriculum every day, right? Just because another disruption coming in the technology, it has to be done methodically, because there is a massive group of people who get impacted when there is a curriculum change. There may be a student who is doing in the old curriculum, he get impacted, and then the lecturers, they have to get themselves updated, they need to get their trainings, and Sri Lanka might have to do a lot of the trainer sessions, so many things going in background. Just because the technology disruptions come, you can't just change the curriculum. But I would say, this is how you make the future ready chartered accountants. I think uh, in simple layman terms, in this ecosystem, when you have practicing firms and their clients, governments, economic environment, regulators, general public, so you need to make ready chartered accountant what they need, right? It's not that you produce. I think it's a fair play. We have been doing, and we are pioneered doing that for a number of years in the past. I'm sure they will make future ready chartered accounts who are needed by the market, who are needed by the industries, not only in Sri Lanka. Good percentage of chartered accountants who are live actually migrated in our membership analysis of number of members. I think that's because our qualification is comparable to global qualification, and it's surely a global passport. But it needs to bring up a lot of changes in terms of addressing the requirements of the market, and in terms of giving what they need actually, rather than what we think of giving. I think if we do that, reciprocal analysis to understand what the market need, and what capabilities we have in the house, and what changes needs to be done, then I think we can make the future ready chartered accountants. And definitely it'll evolve the future needs for the generations of industries, and generation of business owners, and various stakeholders.
Okay, lovely. And also, I'm just gonna add in some more questions because we all our viewers that are joining with Learning Pod are aspiring chartered accountants, future ready chartered accountants that are working their way towards it. And if some of our students aspire to be a director or a partner of a big four firm, what advice could you give to such accountants or some of our students?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for you to get there, what you need to have is your attitude set right. You need to have the right attitude, right? And you need to be ready of being challenged on a daily basis, on minute by minute basis. So you need to get yourself ready, and you need to have that right mindset and the attitude to get challenged every day. And if you're having that mindset, that is the prerequisite to become like and growing up in the ladder. I think the message I wanted to give is like have your technical skills built up, have a proper qualification. Once you get the professional qualification or maybe the academic qualification that you need to, it is not the end of the journey. That is the starting of the journey. So how you make use of your qualification is your attitude, and how you want to get challenged on a daily basis. And the most important thing is the CPD, and get yourself up to date to the world changes. And otherwise, you won't be able to be remain relevant. So if you want to become remain relevant, and I would add a word, grow. If you want to be remain relevant and grow, I think you need to have a lot of CPDs, and you need to participate courses like this, maybe clubs like this, and hear to different people. And when you are in a professional practicing organization, you anyway have requirement to follow certain number of CPDs and stuff. But beyond that, start reading newspapers, maybe while you are traveling in the train, or maybe you are driving, just put on your business news section, maybe in the radio, whatever. Listen to that. Maybe listen to certain other modes of reading things while you are driving. And do a lot of readings, and do a lot of exploring things, and have that curiosity, have that right attitude, and develop your analytical skills more importantly. And also have that kind of a common sense approach. Try to be a common sense person. When you see something, use your common sense. Maybe basic thing, maybe you are talking to a kid or someone, so just use your common sense. You will learn every day. So I think learning never stops. Even our age is going by day, but learning never stops. And if you don't stop learning, then that is the right advice to go up in your ladder to the whatever the aspiration you want to be. And you will definitely become. And be positive.
Lovely. Okay, I'm sure our viewers will surely take this in the best light and with great advice. And so we do have some of the questions as well by our viewers. So I'm gonna ask you a little bit about that as well, so that we touch on that. So one of the questions was, what about the privacy concern when we use open source software for auditing? Because in Sri Lanka, most practitioners have this concern. What is your advice or take on that?
Oh, Oh, that's a really good one, actually. So this is the, I think, primary reasons, maybe the top tier, top 10 firms, they have their own platforms, and they have their own softwares. I think very good question. Or question, there is a really genuine concern, right? But I also need to say that all of us are scared of the cloud-based data being stored, and we maybe whether we might be hacked, or maybe our clients' data will be leaked to one firm to another, or things like that. So your confidentiality piece, right? So, and you're always scared of that, right? So when you are selecting a software vendor, again, use your basic questions. What's the data privacy? What level of firewalls you have to control the data leakages, the platform that you are using, or the number of licenses that you are using, and what accreditations they have it like. So if you are a software vendor, and who are being audited your platform and your code and all of that, right? So who have been audited by these sources software provided. And just to understand the firewall and all the network architecture behind it, I think you need a kind of a proper IT guy, I would say, in layman terms. If you are a small firm, if you are a quite maybe organization that has been there for a number of years, and now you're trying to maybe change to a new software or something, I think the question is maybe even if you don't have a proper IT, maybe CIO level person, but you can always go to a maybe IT firm or someone, get it ratified and get it checked actually what protocols are there to protect clients data and your data without being leaked to a third party. So I would say that's the advice that I can think of.
Okay, I hope that answered the question. I'm sure it did as well. And there's also another private question that has been asked, and that is for local chartered accountants that are qualifying, that are in the process of qualifying. What is your take on the number of opportunities that are there in other countries for chartered accountants, aspiring chartered accountants? What is your advice on that?
I think that's a really good question, right? So, when I get qualified, like, I think after 4.5 years or 4 years, something, I left Sri Lanka and I started with Middle East, right? So that actually gave a lot of opportunities for me to, like, blend with a lot of nationalities and a lot of cultures. But like, it surely may not be the right journey, I would say, Domindra. So if you want to try, like, like maybe like you can do a lot of paths actually. So some people think like, after you become a chartered accountant, like there are a lot of friends of mine well settled in different countries. They actually choose a lot of student pathways as well. And if you're just married, or maybe like if you don't have kids and all, maybe like you're still young enough, then you can take those risks and like go into those countries, because you are carrying a kind of a diamond necklace in your neck as a CA. You will always find a job over there. You will definitely get settled, but it's a matter of time. And like I would say, like maybe to do a lot of research. What do you want in your life? Whom you want to be? And like do a SWOT analysis, I would say. And like I always tell it to this to my uh, colleagues in the work, like when they come up with a lot of career related questions, I would say do a SWOT analysis, right? And in that SWOT analysis, identify your strengths, and then if you want to take a decision, take that decision best interest to you. And there'll be a lot of repercussions coming in. You may be wrong as well. That's fine. Be ready for that. And you should be like in a person, you should be a person of like accepting the change and living that change. Because when you are, I think the answer to your question, like when you are trying to move from Sri Lanka, it is a big decision actually. And you will be going away from your uh, parents, and you should be ready enough to accept that homesick and like manage with it, right? So and all of that coming with the price, like. And I would say like uh, people around the world like Sri Lankans for some reason, right? So like I mentioned, Sri Lanka is famous for only few reasons. Maybe Ceylon tea, maybe Sri Lanka cricket, maybe another reason is our accountants around the world. So and they will like you, right? They will definitely like you. Maybe like in the first instance you will not find the right fit. Maybe the second instance you won't find the right fit, but like definitely you will find the right fit. That's what it is, right? So and yeah, that's the advice.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm sure that answered the question as well. And I believe there are no more questions that have been given by our viewer, that have been asked by our viewers. And so, with that said, do you have any closing thoughts that you would want to share with future chartered accountants?
uh Nothing much, especially I think I've spoken about a lot, but like I would say like for future chartered accountants, like read a lot, right? So and be ready to read a lot, and be ready to be challenged a lot, and like have that curiosity, and try to make sense all the time. Use your common sense. You will succeed in your life definitely.
I apologize, Mr. Jayawardena. There's actually another question that's been asked by one of our viewers.
No problem.
And that question is you said about the qualities that should be uh, future ready should be for future ready chartered accountants. There will be a dilemma in several audit associates who came and just went without getting improved. What matters the most as audit associate, how to audit rather than so that than being a typist and checklist filler. So basically, I believe they are asking about more of the qualities that a future ready chartered accountant should have for people who don't exactly follow the same process. Any advice on that?
I think that's a valid question, Domindra. Like back in the days we get this question a lot, right? So this problem is actually when you are in, like, maybe year one, year two, year three, like, early stage your career, I would say, like, I'm just comparing myself, right? So, and when I compare myself, like, maybe 13 years, like, 12 years back, right? So when you do that, I see I have been doing a lot of repetitive tasks. Yeah, it's because you still don't have the right set of experience, right? That doesn't mean that you will be a checklist filler for your life. No, it is not, right? So, but like, do you think that that experience is not required? No, it is required, because one day you will become a person to review those work. When you review those work, you know how you did that, and you know where the things can go wrong, where the things can be mistaken, right? So you know exactly how to review and coach and guide a person when you become, like, another maybe 2 3 maybe 5 years time down the line, right? So, and so you will not be a checklist filler for every day. And another problem is, like, if you are not progressing well in your career in audit firm, think about what you want from your life, right? There may be situation, Dumindra, like, when I was lecturing in Sri Lanka, like, I got this question, like, number of occasions. There are certain issues in certain organization. It is what it is. We are human. We have all our problems, right? So it may not be the correct place you are in. And if you are seeing that you are not getting right progression that you really need in your career, change the organization and try. You may be young enough, like, I may not be talking to a, like, 35 years old trainee. There will not be, I assume that, right? But like, maybe, like, I'm not just comparing the age, right? So I'm just saying, say for example, like, you are young enough to take those challenges, right? Unlike a person who are with, like, family and kids, right? So you're still young enough in your career, you can do changes into your career, and you can take a chance and leave the organization. And if that is not the case, leave to another organization. And I know that it is actually the trend in nowadays, in western part of the world. And if you don't like, you leave it, simple as that. But like, I had this problem in my career, to be honest with you, Dhuminder. I have worked in number of organization, but like, when the interviewer asks why you changed, that I always had the right answer. I always get selected. It's because you need to have a rationalization to your career, right? So, and to answer to your question, if you are not seen a progression in your career, I think always you need to do is, like, take some choices, right? So do some exploring. And it is not the it's not the it's not the one fish in the pond. There will be a lot of fishes in the pond. You can explore those fishes, and there will be a lot of ponds even in this world, so you can explore those as well. If it is not in Sri Lanka, maybe another country. If it is in X organization, maybe Y organization. If it is not in Y organization, maybe Z organization. There'll be a lot of things to explore if you have the right set of attitude, and if you are doing, if you're working hard. I mean, if you're a smart worker, and if you are smart enough to add value to your teams and the organization, definitely people will hire you. So, and like, have that right attitude, then, like, it's still you are not progressing. Yeah, change it.
Okay, wonderful. Just one last question, maybe, because there is another question which asks about how do you manage time to acquire new skills?
Oh, oh, that is really difficult. Like, nowadays, it is not that easy enough in the older days. Like, I don't really find the time actually. So what I do is, like, while I travel, maybe in a public transport or something, maybe, like, I actually read a lot, because in the morning, like, I get newspapers and stuff fingerprints to my phone, and I just, maybe the tablet, I just go and read it. And reading is one of the main answers that I would like to give to this question. And also, like, listen to a lot of business, like, maybe podcast, maybe, like, sessions, maybe business news, things like that. So this is how I think you can sharpen yourself. And maybe, like, once in a month or two, like, attend to a workshop, meet different people, do a lot of networking, find friends, you talk to them, you associate with them, and get engaged into, maybe, like, channels and groups, right groups, I would say. Nowadays, there are a lot of groups coming in, like, with the digitalization, may not be the right group, but like, find the right group for you and read a lot of things. This is how it is.
Wonderful. All right, Mr. Jayawardena. So I believe that there are no more questions that are asked. And I believe we have answered all the questions that were asked as well. So with that said, a big thank you to you for being here, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak to us and to advise us, and as well as all our future chartered accountants. Thank you for sharing your expertise, and we are definitely looking forward to seeing you soon and to hear from you very soon as well. Thank you so much to you, Mr. Jayawardena.
Thank you so much, Dumindra and the Infinity Space team for having me today. Thank you so much. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. And to all our viewers, a big thank you to you as well for joining on a Friday night. And we would also like to warmly welcome you to please join the Advanced Auditing Club for even more exciting and interesting, inspiring learning for the future, just like this. We will be sharing tips and a lot of advice that you will find useful for your auditing journey. With that said, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. See you soon with Learning Pod. We are the Infinity Learning Space.